congruent triangles is eventually going to get to be a pretty big topic. Okay, we're going to talk about a lot of ways that you can get triangles to be congruent. And congruent triangles are very useful in geometry. I don't expect you to see why they're useful right this minute. Okay? But eventually as we move through, you're going to see that we're going to circle back to congruent triangles a lot. So it's important that you understand this stuff. Now for right now, can you turn around? Thank you. For right now, we're not focusing on any of the theorems. We're just talking about what it means to have triangles be congruent. So today's stuff should not be too complicated. Your quiz on Thursday covers all the stuff we've covered on triangles so far. So that'll be, I don't know off the top of my head. That'll be the stuff on like classifying triangles. Remember we said like equilateral, isosceles, scalene, those types of words, and then all the angle ones, acute, right, obtuse, equiangular. Okay, so a lot of vocabulary there. Then we talked about the sum being 180 degrees in a triangle, and then all the related things that go along with that. How you can get like, if all three angles are congruent, you divide 180 by 3. That was that stuff that we just went over. If you have a 90-degree angle in there, you can just take the other angle and subtract from 90, the exterior angles. And then the congruent triangles that we're talking about today. So those are the things that are on your quiz. Does that make sense? Okay. Jamaja, you're going to pick your head up and make sure you're writing this stuff down. Thank you. Okay. Congruent figures. What does the word congruent mean? Darian.
The same.
The same what?
Size and shape.
Size and shape. Good. The same size and the same shape. I'm going to need some different colors on this background.
Purple.
Okay.
Pink.
Okay, the same size and the same shape.
Can we come up and write it if we get it?
I don't think yet. I'm not prepared for that
She's
yet.
not about that, right?
Not emotionally ready to take that on. Okay.
No, because some people look bad for that.
So, when polygons are congruent, and polygons is just a fancy name for shape. Okay, Darian, I need you to say facing this way. Okay. Corresponding, we're going to write this down and then we'll talk about what it means. Corresponding. Oh, my handwriting gets worse every day.
Maybe we should do it.
Yeah.
Sides
Can you write
and angles are congruent.
That's a lot of writing.
Oh, come on. Okay? So congruent figures are the same size and the same shape. And when I tell you that two figures are congruent, you know all of their sides and angles are congruent. Okay? And sides and angles are really the important thing to take away from that. Okay, so sides and angles is what we're going to be focusing on a lot. Do you know the difference between a side and an angle? This is something I overlooked for many years when I was teaching, that some students don't know the difference between a side and an angle. When I say the side of a figure, what is that?
the side?
What does that mean?
Like the side.
Inside or outside?
West side or east side?
No? Darian?
It's like an angle is like it's like alright, so an angle is like this. A side is like alright, so a side is like this. An angle is like
Okay, have a
This
seat.
is going to be recorded.
Have a seat.
oh crap. This is
Okay.
recording.
A side, when I say a side of a figure, I'm talking about a line. I'm talking about like a line segment. That's a side right there. Okay? What's an angle?
An angle. It has degrees.
Okay?
That's what I was trying to show.
Okay.
Well, it's not kind of...
Trying to be a little more clear for the rest of
Oh,
us.
I know. I seriously know.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
An angle, like a right angle, is like 90. And like a side.
This is an angle. An angle is a corner. Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. An angle is a corner.
I was
Okay.
See the corner?
Darian. Okay. So, sides and angles are congruent. If I tell you these two shapes are congruent, and it gets a little more detailed than that, but if I tell you that these two shapes are congruent, you can say, all right, I know this side and this side are equal. I know this angle and this angle are equal. Okay? So you're going to be able to come up with pairs of things that are congruent to each other. Okay? All right, when you name triangles as being congruent, you have to name them so that the correct letters line up with each other. Okay? So remember I told you it doesn't matter how you name a triangle? It doesn't matter how you name the first one. So this first one over here, somebody raise your hand and name that triangle for me.
Triangle.
Somebody else. How do you name it?
All right.
Rebecca? So name this triangle for me. Okay, so if we name this triangle ABC,
You gotta name it actually.
whoops. Triangle ABC is congruent to, what does the word corresponding mean? Think back to when we did corresponding angles on like the parallel lines. What does corresponding mean? Will, what was that? Okay, something that matches up. Javante, has something to add to that? Okay, congruent. Not all things that correspond are congruent, even though we usually only care about them when they're congruent. But good thought. Corresponding means in the same position. Okay, they're in the same position. So which letter is in the same position as A in the other triangle?
Y.
Darian?
Y.
Y, yep. So this other triangle we need to name Y.
X.
And then we went to B, so over here we're going to have to go to X, Z. So it doesn't matter how you name the first one, but the second one has to match up with it. Okay, let's try it a different way. Somebody name that first triangle for me a different way. Hunter?
BAC.
Okay, BAC. So if we called the first triangle BAC, what would we have to call the second triangle? Rebecca? XYZ, yep. Because we went from B to A to C, so then we would have to go from X to Y to Z. You have to follow the same path.
I'm gonna give you guys a tricky one.
You do that.
Okay.
Can I give them a tricky one?
Try naming these. Now these ones are a little bit harder because they're not, like one has been turned over from the other one. Okay? Darian, name that first triangle for me.
A M P.
Okay. Triangle A, M, P. So, what letter is in the same spot as the A in that first triangle? Now I want you to think before you raise your hand. Really look at it because these triangles are not set up so they're in the same position. Okay. Luke, what do you think?
N.
N, right. Did you get N? Darren, did you say N? N. Then we went to M. So which point is in the same position as M in the other triangle? What do you think, Darian? U. And then we would go to R. How did we know that? How did you figure that out, Darian?
You look at well, this is what I did. I looked at the distances
Okay.
between, or you can look at the lines.
Okay. Yeah, that's a more accurate way to go. Point M, here, is in between the side that has the 3 hash marks and the 1 hash mark. Do you see that? I know it's hard. I wish I could change the color of my pointer. So I've got 3 hash marks here, 1 hash mark here. When I go over to this triangle, I need to look for where I have the 3 hash marks and the 1 hash mark. And that would be right here. This would be point U. Point A, for example, is in between the 1 and the 2. Okay, the 1 and the 2. So over here I looked for the 1 and the 2. And that made the corner N. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you name the first one as long as the second one lines up with it. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm giving you this information. I'm telling you that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle STW. Now you could try to draw triangles and name them that if you wanted to. But actually you should be able to do this without even having to worry about that. When I say the congruent parts or the corresponding parts, what are the parts of a triangle? What parts does a triangle have? The angles and the sides, yep. So anytime I say name all of the corresponding parts, parts includes angles and sides, which I know is already listed there for you, but I want to make sure you understand what I mean when I say parts. Okay. So this triangle PQR is going to have 3 angles, right? It's going to have angle P, angle Q, and angle R. Angle P would be congruent to what angle in the second triangle? S. Okay. Angle Q what would be congruent to angle Q? Alex, what do you think? Q would go with T. Good. And then angle R would go with, Nicole, what do you think? W. Good. Okay. So 3 angles in a triangle, right? Every triangle has 3 angles. Now let's look at sides. Let's see if I can erase this. Oh, good. It'll still let me. Okay. Sides are going to be a little bit tougher. Maybe just a little. How do we name sides? Luke?
No, you have to name them like with 2 parts and then the line work or line segment.
That's exactly right. It's a line segment. So like one side of this first triangle would go from P to Q. So we would say segment PQ is congruent to segment what in the second triangle? ST. Good. Okay. PQ would go with ST. What would be another segment in the first triangle? Go ahead, Darian. In the first triangle. So in this triangle, what would be another segment? We said PQ. QR would be one. So QR. Ryan, what would QR match up with in the other triangle?
TW.
Perfect. TW. Good. What segment am I missing? Hunter? PR. Good. Yeah, you're going to have segments between all 3 of your points. So PR would match up with... Go ahead, Hunter. SW. Good. Okay. So corresponding parts, you have 3 angles and 3 sides. I should say 3 pairs of angles and 3 pairs of sides. Okay? Again, do you know the difference between an angle and a side?
Yes.
I hope so. You say that now like it's obvious, but that's the biggest mistake I see on tests like this. I say name the angle and people are saying things like PQ. PQ is not an angle. R is not a side. Okay? So really focus on those 2 things. What's an angle? What's a side? Okay. Okay. You are given that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. Do not ignore this. This is important. Okay, that tells you how things line up. You can't just trust your eyes. And I want to find the value of x. Well, x is located here. 2x minus 2, that's on side AB. What side does AB correspond with in the other triangle? Javante? DE, yep. And probably you look at it here and say, yes, that looks like it's right. But really what you should be looking at is here. AB corresponds with DE. Okay? If they correspond, what do we know about them?
They match.
Okay, so mathematically, what do I mean when I say they match?
They're equal.
They're equal, right? So I know this is equal to this. What does that sound like we're going to have to do?
Plug it in.
Not plug it in.
Or add them together.
No. If you told me that they were equal, there you go. I need to write an equation. I need to make them equal. So I need to say 2x minus 2 is equal to 6. And then let's solve it.
Or
Nope. What do I do? What do I do to solve it?
oh
Oh, I'm sorry. It is going to be 4.
yeah.
Oh, now you've got me writing 4. Oops. So plus 2 on each side. So 2x equals 8. Divide by 2. X equals 4. Okay. Write that out. Make sure you are writing that out right now. That should be written on your paper. So that later when you're at home doing your homework and you don't know what to do, you can go back and look.
Isn't the next one the same?
Kind of. Still need them. Okay. Find the value of y. What do you think we're going to do? Who's got a thought? Darian, go ahead.
2x minus 2 equals 6.
Okay, but that's x. I want to find the value of y.
Oh, never mind, I know.
Go ahead.
2x minus 2 equals 4y plus 1.
Okay. Glad you said that. Because that's exactly the mistake I've been waiting for this whole time. Okay?
She's been wanting to tell us.
I haven't been wanting you to make a mistake individually, but I've been wanting that mistake to come up. What is 2x minus 2?
0.
What part of the triangle?
Oh, won't it be 2?
It's a side. What is the 4y plus 1?
An angle.
An angle. Can a side be the same as an angle?
No.
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 Okay, been waiting for that. All right, I'm ready for my next one. Rebecca, go for it.
53 equals 4y plus 1.
Okay, that's the other mistake I've been waiting for. Glad you said that. Okay? Because this is screaming to me that we should just do 4y plus 1 equals 53, right?
No.
That's what it was screaming to me. That's what it's screaming to you.
It should.
But does angle F correspond with angle B? Look here. Does F go with B?
No.
No.
No. Okay. So
It's
we need to figure out, let's see, we want angle F because we're looking for Y. So we need this angle. What does this angle go with in this triangle? F goes with C. They're in the same position. F and C go together. I don't know what C is. Or do I? There you go. Okay, we just talked about angles in a triangle, right? If this is 180 degrees total, here's 90 of it. So I know these two would have to make another 90, right? This is what we talked about yesterday.
so 90 plus.
So 90 minus 53 is 37.
So 2x minus.
So I know this angle is 37. Oh, it's really hard to write that tiny, I'm sorry. Okay, that angle's 37, and this is what corresponds with that. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay, because you would get that wrong if you did it the original way. Which, the way Rebecca said it is the way that everybody thinks that one should be done. Okay? So that was a mistake that I was waiting for. In fact, that was the mistake I thought Darian was going to make. And then he made an even better mistake. Okay? So, gave me lots of teachable moments. Okay? So what's our equation going to look like now?
So I made a good mistake.
You did. You made a very good mistake.
There is no such thing as
Okay.
a mistake.
When you're learning, there is such a thing as a good mistake. On a test, when I'm trying to check to see that you have learned everything you need to, that's when mistakes
That's
need to be
when
done.
You fail and take
Okay? So, what's our equation going to look like now? Go ahead, Darian.
I'm gonna read you myself.
All right.
2x.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Do I want x in here anywhere?
2 minus 2.
Do I want x? Do I want to use this at all? Am I using this at all?
I know what it is. 4y plus
Okay,
1
without the yelling.
equals 37.
Thank you. But without the screaming. Darian.
I think I should get moved up today.
Okay. If you're looking for y, don't use x. Okay, we're done with x. We found x. Mission accomplished. Okay? We're looking for y, so we better be looking at y in the problem. And that corresponds with the 37. Seth, question? Solve it, go for it. Good?
I got 9.
Yeah. So 4y equals 36. And then? Divide by 4? Good. Okay. Moral of the story. Don't ignore this.
Ignore.
Okay?
And don't use x's if it says.
Don't use x if you're looking for y. Because this problem had x and y in it, but they weren't ever used together. Okay, it gave you a lot of information. You had to say this lines up with this and that lines up with that. That's sort of the whole point of this lesson, is to be able to say which pieces go together. A side will never match with an angle. Okay? Sides and angles are two totally different things. Okay? Sides are lines, angles are corners. Good? Okay.